In this video, let's take a look at how to solve for specific variables. All right. So working with formulas, a lot of these are just some sort of formula. I equal to PRT is the simple interest formula. So we want to solve for R. So the way how we solve for a specific variable is make sure we identify the terms and knowing which one is a variable term, which one is not. So in this first equation, I got two terms. Equal sign in the middle. Left side, there's no plus or minus sign, so that's one term. Right hand side, there's no plus or minus sign, so PRT is only considered as one term. So inside this PRT term, it has my variable R. Therefore, my coefficient got to be P and T. Okay, remember coefficients are factors that are inside the variable term other than the variable itself. So if R is the variable, then P and T got to be the coefficient. So there's really no terms to move because I only have two terms. So the only thing I can do is divide both sides by the coefficient, which is PT. So my answer, R is equal to I over PT. Okay, that's all it is to it. So a lot of times students make a mistake trying to say, to get R by itself, I gotta subtract PT. Cannot say subtract PT because when we add something on both sides or subtract something on both sides, that means what we are subtracting or adding on both sides is considered as a term. PT is not a term. PT is actually a coefficient inside the variable term. Okay, so just be careful making those kind of mistakes. All right, the next one is one of my favorite ones. So if you actually take a look, the left side, the equal sign is the letter A, so that's one term. On the right side, the equal sign, we do not see any plus or minus signs outside the parentheses, so all these is one term. All right, so I also notice my variable is B, and the B is trapped inside the parenthesis. So eventually this B need to come out of the parenthesis. So a good way to kind of make your way to the variable term here is is basically trying to move, not move away, but somehow get rid of what's on the outside the parenthesis. So by learning about the least common, clear the fraction, here, I want to get rid of the half so I can multiply both terms by the least common denominator. Some people will say, well, all I got to do is times by the reciprocal. That's also true. So the reason I want to do that is so that the top two, bottom two cancels out. The only factors I have outside the parenthesis is just my H times B plus C. All right, the left side is now 2A. So from here, some students say the H can do a distribution, which is okay, nothing wrong with that, because then you end up with HB plus HC. So by this being the variable term still, B is a variable, H is the coefficient, so the very last step is to divide it by this H. So rather than do distribution, what we can do is go ahead and divide both sides by the coefficient H ahead of time. So when the H cancels out, what I end up with is a positive 1 that's outside the parenthesis. So when that positive 1 do a distribution, then my variable term in the positive C can come outside of the parenthesis. So did I do a distribution? Yes, I use it with I distribute with a positive 1 rather than using an H. Now the left side would just be 2A over H. So now by looking at the equation, I have three different terms. The right side has a plus sign outside the parentheses, so there's two terms. My variable term is positive B. Positive, let it stay. So all I'm going to move to the other side is the C. So I get B equals, the 2A over H term is already there. And then C come over, become negative. So be careful now. We are not saying the answer is 2A minus C over H. because that's equivalent of saying 2a over h minus c over h. But I never had an h underneath my term c. So don't write the answer like this. This is actually incorrect. Okay, this c come to the left side will just be simply a negative c. There's no h underneath it. Okay, so be careful. All right, let's try this one. So this one has got 3 terms because I do see a plus sign outside the parenthesis on the right side. All the 3 terms, since I'm solving for variable e, my variable term is positive e. It's positive, let it stay. So to get e by itself, all I need to do is toss over the d to the other side. So my answer, e, is equal to, c is already on the left side. Positive d come over, become negative. So e equal to c minus d. All right, this is a perimeter of a rectangle formula. So we want to solve for w. So the right side has a plus sign outside the parentheses. So the right side has 2 terms. The left side just a p. So that's 1 term since there's no plus or minus on the left side. So that's just 1 term. All the 3 terms, my variable term got to be 2w because that's the term that contains the variable. So to get w by itself, the first thing I need to do is toss over the 2l to the other side. So I get 2w equal to, p is still on the left side. 2l come over, becomes negative. So now the coefficient is 2. So all I got to do is divide every term by 2. So I can say the answer, w, is p over 2, or you can say half p minus l. All right. Now, we do this problem a lot. You've probably done this problem before when you're graphing for linear equations. Got to get y by itself because you will need to write it as y equal to mx plus b, the slope-intercept form. So let's quickly solve for y real quick. Just a quick review. So out of the 3 terms, since I'm solving for y, my variable term got to be negative 3y in this case. All right, so if it's negative, since my variable term is negative, what I can do is move my negative 3y to the right because that will instantly become positive 3y on the right. So if the y gonna be on the right side, or the variable term gonna be on the right side, then everybody else, I move over to the other side. Okay, so I get 4x, still 4x, positive 5 come over, become negative. So to get y by itself, divide every term by 3. My answer, y equal 4 over 3x minus 5 over 3. All right. So the reason why I'm able to move terms to the right, to the left, because I had 3 terms. So if I only had 2 terms started with, one on one side, the other one's on the other side, then I really don't need to move any terms because the whole idea of solving linear equation is to have the variable term on one side, everybody else goes to the other side. So if I had a problem that might be I minus PRT equal to 0, then yes, I will probably need to move the negative PRT to the right side to make it positive. But this is actually 2 terms on the same side. So again, solving for linear equation, the whole idea is make sure you end up with variable term on one side, everybody else on the other side. Okay, that will conclude this quick review on how to solve for a specific variable. Thank you for watching.